Nothing in life holds more influence over your destiny than the clarity of your purpose. It is the starting point of all personal achievement. Every person who has ever risen from obscurity to greatness, from struggle to significance, has done so by first determining with unshakable certainty what they wanted from life. Vague wishes and scattered desires produce equally vague and scattered results. That the man or woman who defines their aim with precision sets in motion a force so potent, so magnetic, that the world itself begins to rearrange in response to that definiteness. Definiteness of purpose is not simply having a goal. It is a binding contract with your own spirit. It is the unwavering conviction that you are here to do something specific, and that you will not be diverted, distracted, or dissuaded from that aim, no matter how long it takes or how hard the road becomes. It is not enough to want success, but only a rare few have a purpose so definite, so alive, that it commands every action they take, every thought they hold, and every step they walk. A drifting mind is a defeated mind. Without purpose, you become like a ship without a rudder, tossed by the winds of chance, controlled by the opinions of others, and vulnerable to every fear that whispers in the night. You move, but you make no real progress. You act, but you accomplish nothing of lasting value. You exist, but you do not truly live, and worst of all, without purpose, your value remains dormant, buried under the weight of indecision and doubt. But once you choose a purpose and fix your heart upon it, you activate something powerful. Your subconscious mind becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. Your thoughts, once scattered, begin to organize. Your energy, once wasted, becomes directed. Your actions, once random, become strategic. You begin to live with intentionality, and intentional living is the foundation of all greatness. Definiteness of purpose cuts through confusion like a sword. It silences the noise. It makes your choices clearer and your decisions faster. You no longer ask, "What should I do?" but instead, "Does this serve my purpose?" Every opportunity, every connection, every habit is weighed against your purpose. If it serves it, you pursue it relentlessly. If it doesn't, you cut it loose without hesitation. This is how you rise. Not by doing more, but by doing only what matters most. Clarity breeds confidence. When your purpose is definite, people feel it. They sense the strength behind your words. They trust your direction. They follow your lead. The world has no respect for the indecisive, the hesitant, or the fearful, but it makes way for the man or woman who knows exactly what they want and moves toward it like a force of nature. You do not need to dominate others. You only need to dominate your own doubt. A definite purpose becomes a magnet for resources, opportunities, and allies. When you know your purpose, the right people begin to appear. People who see themselves reflected in your mission. Doors that once seemed closed begin to open because people are drawn to certainty. They will believe in you when you believe in yourself. Definitiveness of purpose also fuels endurance. When setbacks come, and they will, you do not quit. When your purpose is shallow, any obstacle will break you. But when it is deeply rooted in conviction, no amount of rejection, ridicule, or resistance can derail you. You become unstoppable not because the road is easy, but because your reason is strong. You do not bend with the storms, you build deeper roots. Purpose is the flame that keeps your inner fire alive. It keeps you going when motivation fades. It reminds you why you started when the journey becomes hard. It is the silent voice that says, "Keep going," when everyone else is telling you to stop. This is how you separate yourself from the crowd. Not by being more talented, more educated, or more lucky, but by being more definite. Those who rise to influence and power are not always the smartest or the strongest. More often, they are simply the most focused. Their purpose becomes a lens through which they see everything. It guides their habits, shapes their decisions, and directs their time. Purpose-driven people are not easily swayed. They do not chase fads. They do not spread themselves thin. They build something meaningful because they concentrate their energy on one worthy aim. You will only unlock your full potential when you stop dabbling and start deciding. The moment you get clear, truly clear, on what you want to become, to create, to contribute, you activate a force that multiplies your value in ways you cannot yet imagine. All great achievement begins with one courageous act. The decision to live with purpose, so definite that it outshines your fears, overrules your excuses, and burns through every barrier in its path. Thought by itself is not enough. Vision, desire, and even talent are impotent without the force that translates them into action. That force is self-discipline. It is the silent worker behind every triumph, the invisible hand that molds dreams into results. You can have the brightest mind and the noblest intentions, but without discipline you will live beneath your potential and drift far from the value you were meant to bring into the world. Self-discipline is the hinge upon which all achievement turns. It is not glamorous. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. But it is the daily grind, the quiet resolve, the repeated act of doing what must be done, especially when you do not feel like doing it. It is what separates those who talk from those who do. Many will plan, many will start, few will finish. And of those who finish, the common thread is not luck, intelligence, or connections. It is every thought you think has the potential to become a reality, but only if it is supported by disciplined action. Discipline is the bridge from imagination to implementation. You can read every book, attend every seminar, write down every goal, and dream up a vision board taller than you are. But until you train yourself to do the uncomfortable work when it's easier not to, you will remain a consumer of ideas rather than a producer of value. Your habits are your reputation in motion. Discipline is what crafts those habits. And habits, more than anything else, determine who you become. Discipline means saying no when distractions seduce you. It means rising early when sleep begs you to stay. It means choosing growth over ease, purpose over pleasure, and progress over comfort. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation from laziness, indecision, inconsistency, and weakness. The reason most people do not become valuable is because they are loyal to their feelings instead of their commitments. They do what feels good rather than what serves their purpose. But feelings are fleeting. They rise and fall with mood, with weather, with opinion. Discipline, however, is rooted. It does not wait for inspiration. It does not negotiate with excuses. It obeys the higher voice, the voice that says you are meant for more. The individual who commands discipline does not leave life to chance. They plan their day before the day begins. They choose their words before they speak. They guard their time as if it were gold because it is. They do not need to be watched, managed, or reminded. They hold themselves to a standard because they know that success is not built in a single moment of brilliance, but in countless moments of diligence, often unseen by the world. Discipline is the true test of character. When no one is watching, what do? When the spotlight is gone and the applause has faded, do you still show up for the work? Do you follow through? Do you fade out? The disciplined person does not depend on hype. They are fueled by principle, not emotion. They understand that value is created not by what you occasionally do with intensity, but by what you consistently do with intention. Greatness is earned behind the scenes. It is built in the early mornings, the late nights, the disciplined routines that the average person avoids. When others are distracted, the disciplined are locked in. When others are quitting, the disciplined are adjusting. They endure boredom, overcome fatigue, resist temptation, and defy doubt, because they have decided that the pursuit of excellence matters more than the pull of mediocrity. Discipline sharpens focus. It channels energy. It multiplies your efforts. A single hour of focused, disciplined action is more powerful than 10 hours of scattered, undisciplined movement. Those who lack discipline are always busy, always tired, always overwhelmed, and yet they accomplish little. Those with discipline may do less, but they do it matters most, and they do it well. Self-discipline is also protection. It protects you from your lesser self. There is a version of you that will waste time, that will take shortcuts, that will betray your vision for temporary ease. Discipline locks that version out. It builds boundaries around your time, your mind, and your energy. It says, this is sacred. My time is not for waste. My attention is not for sale. My potential is not up for negotiation. It is easy to get inspired. It is easy to talk a big game. It is easy to make resolutions. But it is discipline that determines whether those intentions live or die. When your thoughts are aligned with disciplined action, you become a force that cannot be ignored. You turn ideals into impact. You become someone the world can count on, consistent, reliable, sharp. And over time, your value compounds in a way that talent alone never could. We live in an age overflowing with information. Data floods our minds from screens, headlines, books, and conversations. Yet despite this ocean of general knowledge, most people remain poor in the one thing that truly builds value: specialized knowledge. In the new age, where the world is more connected, automated, and competitive than ever before, the individual who masters a specific domain becomes irreplaceable. General knowledge can entertain or impress. Specialized knowledge pays dividends. Specialized knowledge is the edge that cuts through the noise. It is the difference between being useful and being essential. In times past, generalists had an advantage when information was scarce and access was limited. But that time is over. Now information is available to anyone with an internet connection. What's rare is mastery. What's rare is depth. What's rare is the person who doesn't just know about a subject, but understands it so deeply that they can solve problems, innovate solutions, and produce results where others only offer opinions. The world does not reward you for what you know. It rewards you for what you can do with what you know. And what you can do depends entirely on how well you've absorbed, applied, and refined your knowledge in a focused area. A person with a general understanding of many things may be interesting to talk to, but the person with specialized knowledge is the one others turn to when something truly matters. When there's a crisis, an opportunity, or a mission that must be completed with excellence. This kind of knowledge is not acquired passively. It requires deliberate study, intentional effort, and a burning desire to become excellent in a particular area. It comes not only from reading, but from doing, through trial, error, observation, reflection, and iteration. Specialized knowledge is not static. It evolves. And so must you. What makes you valuable today may be obsolete tomorrow, unless you are constantly sharpening your edge, expanding your understanding, and staying ahead of the curve in your chosen field. Most people dabble. They learn a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They skim the surface, collecting information like souvenirs, but they never go deep enough to change their thinking or transform their skills. They confuse knowing about a subject with knowing how to use it. But those who become truly valuable go far beyond surface knowledge. They develop a relationship with their subjects, and they immerse themselves in it until they think in its language, until they see patterns others miss, until they become fluent in its logic. The man or woman with specialized knowledge does not beg for opportunity, they attract it. They don't chase jobs, they create demand. They do not rely on luck, they build leverage. And because they've invested the time to go deep in one area, they are harder to replace, harder to ignore, and easier to trust. In their profession, industry, or craft, there are those who command higher respect, greater income, and more influence. Not because they know more things, but because they know the right things more deeply. The man or woman with specialized knowledge does not beg for opportunity, they attract it. They don't chase jobs, they create demand. They do not rely on luck. They build leverage. And because they've invested the time to go deep in one area, they are harder to replace, harder to ignore, and easier to trust. In every profession, industry, or craft, there are those who command higher respect, greater income, and more influence, not because they know more things, but because they know the right things more deeply. In the new age, the world no longer pays for time. It pays for transformation. It pays for results. And those results are almost always produced by people who understand something better than others, whether it's in medicine, marketing, engineering, design, technology, or leadership. The people who stand out are not the ones who know everything. They are the ones who know something thoroughly and can use that knowledge to make things happen. Specialized knowledge is also a form of independence. When you possess a skill or insight that few others have, you gain freedom. You are not as easily replaced, displaced, or controlled. You can choose your path more boldly, negotiate from strength, and shape your future with greater confidence. It becomes your personal capital, something no one can take from you, something that goes with you wherever you go, and something that grows in value the more you invest in it. And every economy, especially a digital one, the winners are those who stand out. And standing out is no longer a matter of being louder, more charismatic, or even more connected. It is a matter of being more competent. The person who becomes the go-to expert in a specific niche builds a reputation that travels faster than advertising. Word spreads, doors open, people seek them out, because competence, once seen, is trusted. But specialized knowledge must also be applied. Knowing is not enough. Theories must become practice. Ideas must become outcomes. Knowledge must be translated into tangible value. That is where transformation happens, when what you've learned becomes what you can offer, when what you understand becomes what you create. The marketplace does not care how many books you've read, certificates you've collected, or concepts you can recite. It cares whether or not you can solve a problem, deliver a result, and improve a situation in a measurable way. Those who embrace specialized knowledge understand that learning is not an event, it is a lifestyle. They do not merely educate themselves once, they commit to growth, to staying current, to pushing the limits of their own competence. They become students for life, not out of obligation, but out of hunger. The hunger to refine their craft, to deepen their mastery, and to multiply their value in a world that rewards the exceptional and forgets the average. There is a force more powerful than talent, more enduring than luck, more reliable than timing. It is the one trait that every person of lasting impact has cultivated to the core. That trait is persistence. Persistence is the refusal to quit. It is the steady drumbeat that keeps going long after motivation has faded, after applause is quieted, after the excitement is worn thin. While others lose interest or fall victim to fatigue, the persistent continue. And in time, the walls that once stood tall begin to crack and crumble, not from brute force, but from relentless pressure applied day after day, week after week, year after year. Resistance is inevitable. Every dream, every goal, every worthwhile pursuit will be met with it. Resistance comes in many forms: self-doubt, criticism, fear, delay, disappointment, rejection, fatigue, distraction. It is the invisible opponent that waits around every corner to challenge your will. But resistance is not unconquerable. It is merely a test of how badly you want what you say you want. And persistence is the answer to that test. It is the decision to keep showing up, even when the results are not immediate, even when progress feels invisible, even when the odds appear long and the voices of doubt grow loud. Persistence does not always roar. It is often quiet. It looks like showing up early. It looks like staying late. It looks like doing it again and again and again. It is unseen, unrewarded labor that most people refuse to do because it does not offer instant gratification. But that is where its power lies. Persistence does not rely on drama or spectacle, but relies on compound effort, on the small wins that build into big ones, on the steady climb that escapes the spotlight until the summit is reached. Most people quit not because they cannot succeed, but because they underestimate the time and effort required. They mistake resistance for rejection. They interpret slow results as signs they are on the wrong path. But resistance is not a stop sign. It is a signal. It signals that what you are trying to achieve is valuable, that it is protected by difficulty, that it is reserved for those who will pay the price through patience. Resistance filters out the half-hearted. It repels the dabblers. But to the persistent, it eventually yields. The truth is, you don't have to be extraordinary to win. You just have to outlast. You just have to keep going while others stall, while others settle, while others seek shortcuts and distractions. Persistence is not about being the best right now. It's about getting better every day until being the best is inevitable. It is about consistency in the face of challenge. And consistency is more powerful than intensity because it builds momentum. And momentum, even the strongest barriers cannot withstand pressure forever. Water, soft and flowing, wears away rock through nothing more than steady, patient movement. So too does persistence wear down every obstacle in its path. You may not see the change in a day or a week or a month, but if you persist, the shift becomes undeniable. Problems shrink, skills grow, confidence rises, and eventually the resistance that once seemed immovable begins to collapse under the weight of your effort. Persistence is a form of belief. It is the physical expression of faith in your purpose. When you persist, you declare to yourself and to the world that your goal is non-negotiable. You declare that temporary defeat will not define you, that detours are not dead ends, that failure is feedback, not finality. You do not stop just because progress is slow. You understand that slow progress is still progress, and that the one who keeps going will always go further than the one who keeps restarting. Many will try once, maybe twice, but they give up when results do not come fast enough. The persistent person understands that mastery requires time, that excellence demands repetition, that strength is developed through resistance. They embrace the process. They are not addicted to ease or addicted to praise. They are addicted to growth, and growth always comes wrapped in struggle. The greatest achievers were not always the most gifted. They were simply the most unyielding. They stayed in the game longer. They endured longer seasons of uncertainty. They tolerated longer periods of silence, longer waits for progress, longer gaps between success and recognition. But they endured, and because they endured, they earned what others only wished for. The gap between desire and result is filled with persistence, and only those willing to fill that gap earn the right to rise. You'll be tempted to quit. There will be days when you question everything, days when nothing works, when doors close, when efforts feel wasted. But persistence turns pain into preparation. It transforms doubt into determination. It is not the absence of struggle that creates strength, but the willingness to persist through it. The world does not belong to the most inspired. It belongs to the most committed. The ones who decide that giving up is not an option. The ones who keep showing up until resistance has no choice but to surrender. You rise to the level of the people you consistently associate with. Your ideas, habits, standards, and results are all shaped, consciously or unconsciously, by your closest connections. The people in your environment do not just influence your thinking, they sculpt your beliefs about what is possible, what is acceptable, and what is worth pursuing. This is why your network is not a side note to success, it is central to it. The quality of the individuals you surround yourself with is a direct reflection of your current and future value. You cannot grow in a stagnant circle. If those around you are not expanding, then they are contracting, and that contraction affects you. Energy is contagious. So is ambition. So is mediocrity. If you spend your time with complainers, you will start to complain. If you surround yourself with critics, your confidence will erode. If your circle tolerates low standards, you will eventually lower yours to match. The subconscious need to belong is so powerful that unless you are intentional, it will pull you down to the level of your environment. Your network either sharpens you or softens you. It either fuels your fire or dampens it. It either challenges you to be better or enables you to stay the same. If you are always the smartest, most driven, most disciplined person in the room, then you are in the wrong room. Growth happens when you are stretched. When you are exposed to people who force you to think bigger, act bolder, and perform at a higher level than you thought possible. Iron sharpened iron, but only when iron meets iron. You do not become exceptional by surrounding yourself with average. Your net worth is not measured solely in dollars. It is measured in the access you have to wisdom, opportunity, insight, and collaboration. A rich network multiplies your potential because it gives you leverage, access to people who know what you don't, who see what you can't, who walk the path you're walking, and can help you navigate it faster, cleaner, and with fewer detours. A strong network is a bank of relationships, each one built on trust, value, and mutual respect. And the return on that investment compounds over time. Opportunities do not always come from hard work alone. They come from alignment. And alignment often comes through people. One introduction, one conversation, one mentor, one advocate can change the trajectory of your life. But that kind of connection is not random. It is earned. You attract high-level relationships by becoming a high-value person. You do not network merely by collecting contacts or handing out cards. You build a network by being someone others want to be around because of your character, your integrity, your consistency, and your contribution. Too often, people think networking is a transaction. They try to get before they give. But the most powerful networks are built on value, not vanity. If you want to be part of a circle that elevates you, first become someone who elevates others. Show up with solutions, offer support, lead with generosity, not greed. Become known as someone who delivers, who follows through, who raises the standard of the spaces they enter. People remember those who bring energy, not just those who ask for it. Your relationships are either assets or liabilities. Every conversation leaves you better or worse. Every influence either reinforces your discipline or undermines it. The people closest to you either speak life into your vision or plant seeds of doubt. There are no neutral relationships over time. That is why you must audit your circle. Who challenges you, who encourages you to take bold action, who holds you accountable when your effort falls short. And on the other side, who drains you, who distracts you, who subtly convinces you to settle. A powerful network does not mean being surrounded by the rich or famous. It means being surrounded by the committed, the hungry, the focused, those who have something to lose and something to build. Those who are not content with average, who push you to show up fully even on the days you don't feel like it. A high-value network is not about clout, it's about character. You want to link with people whose values are strong, whose vision is clear, and whose pursuit of excellence makes you uncomfortable in the best way. You do not find this kind of network, you build it. One person at a time, one intentional connection at a time. You grow it by showing up consistently as the kind of person you want to attract. If you want disciplined friends, be disciplined. If you want ambitious peers, live with ambition. If you want trustworthy allies, be unshakably honest. Your network will reflect not just your habits, but your identity. It is not luck that builds great circles. It is alignment through intention and discipline. There is no such thing as a self-made success. Every achiever, every leader, every person of great impact stands on the shoulders of relationships that sharpened them, taught them, believed in them, corrected them, and lifted them. You cannot do it alone, and you were never meant to. Progress is accelerated when you move in community with others who demand more of themselves and expect more from you. The greater your circle, the greater your reach. The deeper your relationships, the stronger your foundation. Every creation begins twice, first in the mind and then in the world. The mind is not a passive observer of life. It is the birthplace of all progress, all innovation, all wealth, and all transformation. It is within the unseen realms of thought and vision that the seeds of value are first conceived. Imagination is not a luxury of artists or dreamers. It is the workshop where value is designed, refined, and prepared for manifestation. Nothing truly valuable has ever been brought into existence without first being constructed within the silent architecture of the mind. Imagination precedes form. It is the drafting table of destiny, the sketchpad of success, the studio of substance. Every building was once a vision, every business an idea, every movement a dream that dared to stretch beyond the limitations of the current world. The greatest fortunes, inventions, philosophies, and solutions were not found. They were imagined. They were formed in the crucible of thought long before they took shape in tangible form. This is why imagination is not to be dismissed as fantasy. It is to be developed, directed, and disciplined into a force that serves your highest vision. There's a difference between passive daydreaming and active imagination. One is escapism, the other is creation. Passive thoughts entertain the mind, but active imagination builds the future. It takes courage to imagine deliberately because it requires stepping beyond what is and visualizing what could be. To imagine is to create with intention. It is to see with your inner eye that which does not yet exist, and then commit yourself to bringing it into form. It is the power to generate value from nothing, but clarity of vision and force of will. Imagination is the inner laboratory, where problems are solved before they are encountered, where success is rehearsed before it is earned, where systems are refined before they are built. It gives you the power to reframe limitations as possibilities. It allows you to take raw potential and mold it into usable form. Without imagination, you are stuck within the boundaries of what has already been done. With imagination, you become a designer of what has never been done. You transcend repetition and become a source of originality and worth. The most valuable people in any era are those who can see what others cannot. They perceive solutions before the world realizes there is a problem. They construct businesses, art, services, and technologies that others never considered because they dared to imagine without restraint. Their ideas became valuable because their minds were not confined by the ordinary. They understood that the world rewards not just hard work, but original work. And originality flows not from effort alone, but from imagination fueled by purpose. Imagination multiplies your resources. Even when you lack money, time, connections, or tools, you are never without options if your mind is alive with creativity. The power to create value does not come from external abundance. It comes from internal richness. A truly imaginative mind can turn scarcity into strategy. It can turn obstacles into opportunities. It can repurpose experience, repackage skill, and reinterpret failure. There is no such thing as a dead end to an active imagination, only a redirection. And yet imagination must be disciplined. It is not enough to simply dream. The value lies in shaping the dream into form. Many people imagine greatness but never translate that vision into structure. The workshop is where form is given to thought, where the details are worked out, where the vague becomes specific and the abstract becomes actionable. This is where value is forged. The mind must not just wonder, it must build. It must not only envision what is desirable, but engineer what is possible. Its process requires solitude. It requires silence. It requires stepping away from noise and distraction long enough to let your mind stretch and soar. The greatest breakthroughs are not made in haste. They are born in focused stillness, when the mind is free to roam deeply and connect seemingly unrelated ideas. In the age of constant input, the ability to imagine clearly is a superpower. Those who do not cultivate this space will merely copy what has already been done, and those who do will create what the world has yet to see. Value begins with vision. The more detailed the vision, the greater its chance of impact. Imagination allows you to mentally test ideas before they are executed. It allows you to visualize the end from the beginning. It allows you to identify gaps, refine delivery, predict challenges, and clarify outcomes. When you step into your mental workshop each day, you are not escaping reality, you are shaping it. You are entering the place where the impossible is made possible, and where raw thought is transformed into practical worth. The mind is not just a storage device. It is a workshop, and the workshop must be used daily. Imagination is a skill, and like any skill, it sharpens with use. You must discipline yourself to imagine on purpose, to take time to create mentally before you execute physically. Write down ideas, sketch concepts, map models. See yourself performing at the highest level. See the systems you need to build. See the people you need to influence. See the future not as a vague hope, but as a blueprint you're actively constructing.